This feels so good anyway. After today, I won't have to pretend anymore.
This feels so good. Eric Langford grinned as his pen glided across the divorce papers. A few people in the courtroom laughed. His new girlfriend squeezed his shoulder and smiled. Across the room, Maya sat frozen. The woman who had stood beside him for 15 years. The woman who helped him build his first company. The woman who once worked double shifts so he could chase his dreams. Now she was nothing more than a joke. Eric didn't even try to hide his enjoyment. He looked up from the papers and smirked. "After today," he said loudly, "I won't have to pretend anymore." More laughter. Maya lowered her eyes, not because she was ashamed, but because she knew if she looked at him for too long, the tears she had fought so hard to control would finally fall. The courtroom saw a rich businessman ending a marriage. What they didn't see was the woman who had sacrificed nearly everything to help him become that businessman. They didn't know about the nights she skipped meals so they could pay rent. They didn't know about the loans she secretly took out when his first business failed. They didn't know about the promises he made when he had nothing. Promises he was now erasing with the stroke of a pen. Eric leaned back in his chair and laughed again. "Best decision I've ever made." The words landed like a slap, and for a moment it looked like he had won. But what Eric Langford didn't know was that before this day ended, the same courtroom laughing with him would be staring at him in shock. And the woman he thought he was destroying would be the one walking away with everything. Welcome, story lovers. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. Because this isn't just a story about a divorce, and it isn't just a story about betrayal. It's the story of a woman who gave everything to the man she loved, only to discover her true worth after he tried to take everything away. Maya Langford was in her mid-30s, intelligent, calm, and graceful. By day, she worked as a senior project manager at a top firm. By night, she returned to a house that no longer felt like home. The mansion she had helped design now echoed with laughter that wasn't hers. Her husband, Eric, once the man who held her hand during her humble beginnings, had changed after success arrived. He became addicted to power, attention, and validation. The same woman whose intellect once impressed him was now accused of being too opinionated. Her confidence, labeled as arrogance. Her independence, disrespect. Soon, she stopped arguing. She stopped explaining. Instead, she started observing, quietly, patiently. Now, as she sat in the courtroom, she wasn't the fragile woman Eric thought she'd left behind. There was something fierce, yet calm about her. A stillness born of truth, waiting for its moment. Across the hall, Eric strutted in, like a movie star, on premiere night. He wore his arrogance like a custom-made suit. His new lover, Vanessa, a tall woman with designer perfume and a laugh that could slice glass, walked beside him. Together, they looked like a poster for vanity and money. They smirked when they saw Maya sitting alone, scrolling silently through her phone. "Still pretending to be calm?" Vanessa whispered, loud enough for Maya to hear. Eric chuckled, brushing his expensive watch. "She'll learn the hard way, babe. By tonight, I'll have everything." The air smelled of perfume, arrogance, and power, two things Eric believed he owned. He had rehearsed every line, bribed who he could, and painted Maya as unstable, bitter, and desperate. To the world, he was the successful businessman. Maya was just the woman who married up. When the court session began, the air changed. Bang! The sound of the gavel echoed through the room, but beneath the noise, tension hummed. The judge, Justice Evelyn Moore, didn't look at Eric the way most people did. Her eyes lingered on Maya instead, with quiet respect. Eric had no idea. He was too busy performing. His lawyer pushed hard for a settlement that would leave Maya with almost nothing. Eric smiled proudly, whispering jokes that drew more laughter. Maya sat with her hands folded, face unreadable. Then came the final moment. Eric leaned forward with a dramatic flourish, pen in hand, still grinning. But as he moved to sign, the judge cleared her throat. "Mr. Langford, before you finalize this, new information has come to light that this court must acknowledge." The room fell silent. Justice Moore looked directly at him. It appears Mrs. Langford has recently inherited a substantial estate from her late grandmother, an inheritance she was unaware of until very recently. The amount in question is approximately $500 million. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Eric froze, his pen hovering over the paper. Vanessa's confident smile vanished. 500 million? Eric stammered, his voice cracking. The judge continued calmly. Given this new financial reality, the previously proposed settlement is no longer applicable. Mrs. Langford has chosen to reject it entirely. The color drained from Eric's face. His hand began to shake visibly. Maya finally looked up, meeting his eyes with calm, quiet justice. Eric slammed his hands on the table. "This is impossible! She's lying! She had nothing!" The judge's gavel struck sharply. "Enough, Mr. Langford. This court will not tolerate outbursts." Eric's entire world began to collapse, right there, in that silence. The courtroom erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered furiously. Vanessa covered her face, whispering, "Eric, what now?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. As the court adjourned, Maya stood slowly. Her lawyer smiled, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You handled it perfectly." Maya nodded, whispering, "I didn't need to speak. The truth did." Outside, the courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. Questions flew from every direction, but Maya walked through them with quiet purpose, her silence saying everything. For years, she had been humiliated and dismissed. Today, her dignity had spoken louder than any words could. That evening, as Eric sat in his empty mansion surrounded by lawyers and mounting regret, the weight of what he'd lost finally sank in. Vanessa was gone. His reputation was destroyed. The arrogance that once protected him now left him isolated and small. Meanwhile, Maya returned to her quiet apartment. She took off her heels, stood before the mirror, and looked at herself for a long time. For the first time in years, she smiled not because she had won, but because she had finally let go. Justice, she realized, wasn't revenge. It was peace. Later that night, she brewed tea and stood by her window, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. She thought of all the women who had stayed silent out of fear. "Let them see this," she whispered softly, "and believe they can rise too. Because sometimes dignity doesn't shout. It doesn't fight for attention. It simply stands still until truth shines through." And somewhere, another woman scrolling through her phone might watch Maya's story and find courage in her quiet strength. So to every woman who has ever been underestimated, every woman who has been told to stay quiet, every heart that has been bruised but not broken, remember this: silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is power wrapped in grace. Because when a woman chooses peace over revenge, her victory shakes the world in ways noise never could. Thank you for watching. If Maya's story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful emotional stories of strength, dignity, and truth.